Is someone gonna drop? Are we playing? Are we good? I'm good. So let's say we got Singeslayer and Scrippy on the left-hand side. Their team Please Stop versus Team Counter-Strike. We've got Happy Death and Pavement Man, aka A Timothy. They're not actually the same person, but they are for today because A Timothy is from Australia, but that doesn't fly. So we've got Europe versus USA again. Yeah, that's probably a good description. So anyway, both teams, once again, typical opener on Salt. They're going to close in and take the first outpost. And as soon as infantry walk into it, they're going to immediately move up to the second post. Now, Happy Death and Pavement Man are significantly further ahead in this match. Happy Death seeing that nothing has been captured yet, so he's going to get done with a little bit of harass here. So he's dropping some bear traps. Scrippy healing his infantry inside the bear trap. Just prolonging the pain, I guess. Doesn't really have time to waste to defuse those, though. Otherwise, Happy Death is going to come in and just capture this outpost right from under his nose. Setting up bear traps on the carbon side of every single outpost. So there's bear traps right here, bear traps on the top side, bear traps back on the bridge. And so now that he knows they're on the bridge, he has dropped a patcher so that Scrippy can actually start to clear those bear traps out. And so Red Team did move a lot of tanks up to the bottom outpost, but they're still at the bottom. That is a little bit atypical for Happy Death. Normally you would expect that they would move those up. Not accustomed to seeing Happy Death not using those units. And for some reason can't see the players. Can't see health bars. There's probably got to be a disable for that. Anyway. Both teams not really being aggressive. Neither one is going to push up to the middle. Neither one is pushing to the top. There's a little bit of poking and prodding, but not a whole lot of commitment here. I guess we could say from now on that Happy Death and Pavement Man are a little bit shy about commitment. Well, okay. I'll just be here then. When you guys are ready to fight, I'll be around. In the meantime. Yep. Got a big couple of tanks over here. Got a couple of tanks over here. Fighting sounds like it's work. There we go. There we go. Red team moving in, dropping a couple of turrets, going to take out some of the neutrals on their side. And meanwhile, Scrippy going to knock out a handful of those bear traps, so they will be able to get infantry in here unimpeded. Ferrying a generator up forward. That way he'll be able to auto-heal forever. Because that generator keeps him topped off with energy, Osprey tops off health, so the Osprey will be able to heal endlessly. Singeslayer still in that bomber, going to try to get a little bit of tick damage, but there's no real red clump to speak of, so that area of effect damage is moot. Doesn't manage to kill the turret. Happy Death swoops in invisibly, silently, and sweeps away that turret, puts it down on a socket to heal. Singeslayer getting killed by the Neo because Happy Death is so sneaky, you never know when he's watching. Moving the Bucky out of the way so it's not going to get tagged by any stray missiles. So Pavement Man trying to push forward, working the follow command, but not working it properly. So we've got a squirming mass of flackers. Happy Death, the invisible hand, comes in to readjust the market there. Singeslayer having some pretty bad luck in this game, both with the combined fire from the Neo, the Saucer, and Flacker, T99, T99, Seeker. Actually, pretty much every red unit here attacks air. That's going to be a problem for Singeslayer, the bomber, as he gets killed again. So, probably not realizing that all of these red units are anti-air in some capacity, and so the bomber is going to have a bad time. He's just basically sitting on the bench for this game. Carbon Team has a massive unit advantage on the bottom that they are not flexing at all, so Pavement Man taking another lockbox. I would like to see Carbon try to push somewhere, somehow. They could sweep right through middle. There's only a couple neutral turrets in the way. But Red Team will maybe readjust some of these. Pavement Man putting the flackers on follow, going to the bottom post and drawing the flackers into the neutral gaddy. So they will get killed. But that's okay. We need something to balance out this game. So Red Team is you know, it feels like they're in the advantage, but they're actually at an upkeep disadvantage, even though the Carbon team keeps getting killed every 3 seconds due to this large quantity of anti-air. Even though Red team really doesn't have any kind of positional advantage or even a compositional advantage. Carbon team's actually unit capped right now. All they have to do is move somewhere with those units and do something with them. But Red team's doing a good job of keeping everything neutral. Happy Death just kind of quietly coasting in and out, dropping the occasional unit on fort drop. So he's ticking a little bit of damage here. Every little bit helps. So if he drops a Dillo here, a Dillo there, eventually that's going to add up. And when he does drop down, he can snipe any kind of lunchboxes or whoppers that get put behind, potentially crippling the unit upkeep. So that cloak is pretty powerful because, one, Carbon team doesn't have a lot of anti-air to begin with. Scrippy getting taken down again by the overabundance of anti-air on the Red team, as well as the neutral Seekers that they still haven't been able to deal with, and the neutral T-99s. So there is just way too much anti-air here for Carbon to deal with. Singeslayer might get taken down again as well. Can't see any health bars because I don't remember how to turn them back on. But either way, anyway, no. Red team is slowly creeping forward. That's pretty much the only place where anything is happening. The occasional unit on follow command from Pavement Man kind of wanders in, wanders out. Happy Death trying to carry and save those wherever he can, but ultimately he's not getting them all. I like how the units shrink when they get pulled up into mech cargo, so you see the lockbox just shrink into a tiny cube as it gets sucked into Happy Death's rectum. Actually, we're going to see Scrippy get taken down here. That Neo is really fast. If I could see health bars, maybe I'd know if he's surviving or not. But oh well. Takes down another tank. Carbon team has now run out of units because the players have been dead for so long. They're losing a lot of money, and they're losing a lot of time to manage and try and prevent this harassment from going down. So even though Happy Death is only killing one unit at a time with his bare mech, this is still working out for him pretty well. There has been no kind of hands down slap down like we've seen in some of the other rounds where they just move in and say, this is mine now. So for this particular map, Carbon is at a disadvantage. They still got a massive army doing nothing, but they could use that. If they could combine their forces together, maybe do a double prong push towards that middle top outpost, maybe they could make something of it. But they can't get enough anti-air to counter this Neo because he's going to keep dropping in behind the line, get one shot off, and that's really all he needs for this harassment. And you cannot get enough anti-air to counter a Neo. The other problem is that you can't get missile anti-air versus a Neo. Like these Seekers, as soon as that Neo hits level 7, right now he's only level 5, but as soon as he hits level, well actually 6, he'll be able to unlock his ultimate ability, which re-scrambles missiles and has them redirect targets, and the missiles will then focus on previously friendly targets. Pavement Man making no effort to save that roller, but that's okay. He's expendable. He's got 27,000 credits in the bank, so he could easily build another one, but I'll bet you $1 that was Happy Death's roller to begin with. So really, Pavement Man going out of his way to try to sandbag his teammate here, but that's okay. So he's dropping the Goliath up front. Scrippy is going to be able to keep those Longhorns tied off. They will be able to beat the Goliath. Pavement Man also not trying to save that. Singeslayer dropping some bombs. Still nothing going on in the bottom half of the map. I think Singeslayer is starting to get some ideas about potentially moving up, but it hasn't happened yet. So this is really the only place that anything is happening. Pavement Man getting a little bold, trying to move forward. Now he is taking advantage of the fact that Scrippy cannot heal while shooting. So Scrippy trying to heal, not prioritizing the blowy uppy part of his job. Happy Death trying to sneak in with another couple of Dillos, do a little bit more damage to the fort if he can. While he's cloaked, he might as well take out some of these whoppers and cut out some of that upkeep for Carbon team. Scrippy and Singeslayer both getting killed again, one more time. That copious quantity of anti-air as well as just constant air-to-air fire from Happy Death and Pavement Man doing a good job of killing the players. Now Pave is pushing forward here. He is outnumbered and outgunned, but he don't care. I remember him having units back, but probably Happy Death has already shuffled those. Happy Death with a very spread out map presence, coming in with more Dillos again. And so he's invisible on the radar when he's cloaked, so he very quickly neutralizes that. Now that this is a neutral outpost, he might get a little bit more brave about trying to harass and take out some of these units, because these Seekers, while they can be scary, he's redirecting the missiles into the carbon units. That is Neo's ultimate, so ultimately there is no anti-air here for the carbon team. The T-99 is literally hitting itself. So the Neo is just laughing as this is happening, and he's going to be able to start harassing all of these other tanks on the low ground as well. So this is a gradual collapse of the carbon team forces now that, I mean, they're still not doing anything with these tanks. Like, as long as they're sitting there, they're just chewing up upkeep for no benefit. You could call them a deterrent, but the heavy mines alone are probably good enough at that job. And so red team is just going to ferry all of these tanks. Dillos being an attractive option pretty much because you can ferry multiple of them at a time. Happy Death killing Scrippy again. This is starting to hurt me with all these player kills. Pavement Man just taking some more of these carbon tanks. Carbon trying to back push, but they put them on R, so they're going to capture, spread around the post, and come one by one into the perpendicular of fire. So red is going to have a pretty good position on this and be able to do a lot of damage to these tanks, even though carbon has the muscle advantage here. There's also the problem that Neo still doesn't have a ready counter to it, so he's slowly coasting in, dropping more Dillos yet again. He can carry 4 at a time because those tanks are so light. Carbon now has another big clump of forces in the north, not doing a whole lot, so things have stagnated down a little bit there, and this is just kind of the slow death hug from Happy Death. So maybe you enjoy those sorts of hugs. Singeslayer is going to try to take the fight to red a little bit, drop something at the fort. Have no idea what he's carrying because my UI is broken. 3 Longhorn, actually 2 Longhorn and a Gemini. That's going to do a lot of damage if no one responds to this, but fortunately you have a Saucer who has the privilege to just stand here and wait until it's captured. Now, normally Singeslayer would be able to stop this from happening, but he's got a Neo teammate and Blaster Guardians and Pavement Man just doing the air-to-air fire. So Pavement Man is just going to abduct all of the units here. He's taken 2 tanks. Now Carbon was able to use that distraction to their advantage and capture this forward post, but something tells me Happy Death is going to be able to quickly neutralize it with a stealth drop of Dillos to the rear, because we have damaged Gemini in the rear, not being healed up by that Osprey at all. So Happy Death is going to slowly but surely pick off a lot of these tanks. Those turrets, while nominally, generally being a good idea, are not going to be very effective because of the presence of the Neo. This is a hard counter to any kind of missile units. So please stop having a rough time here. What else is going on? Pavement Man pushing forward into heavy mines. The Dillo rolling right over it, but the trigger radius being just a little bit too tight there. Maybe he'll push some more tanks onto the heavy mines. Carbon finally has a Bertha up. That's a heavy artillery going to be putting in some decent damage. Pavement Man looks like he wants to push. He's trying to send in a single patcher to clear out some of these mines for him, but the Bertha should be able to... No, well, never mind. Alright, the patcher did not believe in life. He didn't want to be part of the red team. He wanted to be purple, but they don't have a purple team color. So Singeslayer trying to get brave with the bombs again, but this air-to-air fire coupled with the anti-air from below, he's got to be careful or he's going to get killed again. Happy Death finally going with a couple of gangsters. These are kind of a later game light unit. They are harder to kill, they do more damage, but they cost more and have a longer build time. And they just seem to pop out of thin air because Happy Death's still cloaked. Also whipping out the Pepper. This is a newer addition to the inventory. It's completely out of range, so we have no idea what it does, but it shoots missiles. Being the guy that controls, he is the master of missiles, Happy Death has no problem whipping those out. Carbon Team Outpost is out of energy, so even if they wanted to heal their tanks, they couldn't. So really, this is just kind of Slowly but surely trying to flex the advantage. Pavement Man with nukes. Does Scrippy notice it? No. So if he saw that beacon, and it's not a cloaked beacon, he would be able to recognize that, maybe move his units, push or something, but he flew right over it. So we're going to see all of these tanks blow up. Let's get a nice close-up. This will be the nail in the coffin for Carbon Team. Oof. So now it's a wide open playing field. Pavement Man should be pushing right now. It looks like he's trying to figure out how to do that. Using the follow command, trying to set a custom waypoint down towards the south. Figures that's a better place to push because he blew up all the units in the north, so south is naturally the only other place to go. They've got Goliaths. They've got Gorgons. They've got Busters. And this choke point is funneling all of those units into a tiny, narrow little chain. He's dropping more nukes, but where? Oh. Oh, that's going to be nasty. Oh. Now that Carbon has no units whatsoever, what are they going to do? So, more nukes coming down. This is... oh, man. Singeslayer getting taken down. Just way too much anti-air from the red team. They've got Gorgons left and right. They're probably hunting for that nuclear missile silo. That would be a good idea. I mean, Scrippy's setting up some artillery here. He's got a couple of Gorgons of his own, trying to stop that Neo harass, but the Neo's just so good, and it stops all those missiles. So actually, these red units squirming around a little bit more. They're going to hit that heavy mine. And actually, we might see this start to swing back a little bit. So he lost the Gorgon. Singeslayer getting a kill on Pavement Man. Can they get this back? These red units are pretty much gone, but happydeath is too busy down on the south side, setting up Peppers as his long-range artillery, interestingly enough. They've got a pretty wide spread, so they're not great against onesie-twosie units, but they're pretty good against focused clumps or any groups of units like that. Singeslayer still taking all that air-to-air fire. happydeath is just dedicated to killing players in this particular match. He doesn't care if he takes a little bit of fire himself, so he's trying to snipe Scrippy here. He might be able to get it. He's cloaked, just fishing for the kill, but he does hop back to his home base. Interesting. Why are the missiles going over the outpost? So just in case these two tanks were too much for red to handle, Pavement Man dropping another nuclear silo on that, while happydeath seeing the silo marker and moving it back to where red does have forces. Now Scrippy probably unable to see that flashing column, but he should be able to see the marker now, so he knows that he's got to reposition some of these units to try and keep the turret from blowing up. There we go. So that's a good dodge, so none of these units are going to get hurt at all from that nuke. So that's a good save right there. But there are more nukes falling. Are these for Carbon Team? That was spectacular. So Singeslayer coming in, now that he dropped the nuke, he's going to come in with a couple of tanks to try and drop the fort, thinking maybe I've destroyed all those turrets. But they're still there. The socketed hats do like a good plus 50% damage when they're on socket. So when you fly over two socketed hats, that's just some beastly damage. So Singeslayer unfortunately unable to take that kind of damage. happydeath still just on the front. Now Carbon has moved up, but they've lost control of this outpost, so that's a pretty big handicap for them in this fight. They need to get some more infantry into that post stat. But Gorgons as well, that's just such concentrated anti-air fire. It's really hard to micromanage your units when you're in the presence of that much anti-air fire. So we've got Carbon Gorgons as well. So neither team really able to fly over too much. Now we do have another Carbon nuke getting dropped. Oh, no, missed it. There's another red nuke. There's nukes for both teams. This is World War III now. Was Carbon silo sniped? No, so that will launch another nuke, but he's got 1, 2, 3 markers out. We don't know which one's going to be the active one. hard to say. So Happy Death, Pavement Man moving up slowly but surely. Hopefully we won't have to see another game of Salt from these guys. Singeslayer getting taken down again. Just those multiple socketed hats are just too beastly to contend with. They do take out the lunchbox with that nuke, but that's not really that great a trade. Those missiles are expensive to launch. So we've got another carbon nuclear missile going out and another red missile going out at the same time. But does they take out the silo? They do. Will the red one still land? Yes, actually. Once it's in the air, looks like it lands regardless. Interesting. So now there's nothing left. They got a couple of Goliaths here and there, but I mean, these Goliaths, these Gorgons, these are very upkeep heavy units. So they may be at 40 upkeep or 80 upkeep, but ultimately that's not 80 units. That's more like 12 units. And plus they've still got a lot of spread back here. Singeslayer going down again because these Gorgons all scattered across the map, the hat scattered across the map, they just do so much damage. More missiles going down, probably this one. So that's going to tag one more infantry out of the post. Outposts are fairly resistant to those missiles. Oh, Singeslayer might get taken down again. More missiles coming out. These are now still coming from the carbon team, so it's going to drop right here. Does take out one of those Gorgons, so Singeslayer's life expectancy has just increased triple-fold because now there's one less heavy anti-air unit, but he's flying right over two more Gorgons. So Scrippy and Singeslayer have to be careful when they're even considering flying over this just because there's so much anti-air present. So that's going to be hard. Since they've lost this front post, they have no upkeep left to build anything with. They do have Whopper socketed. That increases it as much as they can. But most of that upkeep is sunk into this Goliath, this Gorgon, and the two separate nuke silos. One for each player, I would presume. And so this is some massive all-out nuclear warfare with nukes falling left and right. Will it be enough to save them, though? There's a red nuke coming down. There's another carbon nuke going out, so we're going to see a carbon missile fall on the other side of the screen at the same time. What is this game? Jesus. Just nukes falling left and right, more coming from here. Someone just used the nuke to take out the nukes. This is mutually assured destruction going on. And this map is not going to be safe to play on because we're going to be in radioactive fallout for the rest of the day. I mean, the nuke silos do friendly fire damage to the other nuke silos. I don't even know what to think anymore. Anyway, GG, I suppose. That was kind of a slower game with, like, there was never any formal push, but holy crap with the anti-air and the nukes. Red team, Happy Death and Pavement Man just completely disabling the carbon team there with all of that anti-air scattered across the map. I feel like carbon team, had they approached it slightly different, maybe it could have worked out a little bit better for them, but they will have a couple more chances for this. This is a best 2 out of 3, so it ain't over yet.